everyone, and welcome to the TDWI webinar program. I'm Andrew Miller, and I'll be your moderator. For today's program, we're going to talk about data and analytics on the cloud for healthcare, and our sponsor today is Impetus. For our presentations today, we'll hear first from Fern Halper with TDWI, and after Fern speaks, we'll be joined by Subhareddy Appala with Change Healthcare and Shilpi Saxena with Impetus. Before I turn over the time to our speakers, I'd like to go over a few basics. Today's webinar will be about an hour long. At the end of their presentations, our speakers will host a question and answer period. If at any time during these presentations you'd like to submit a question, just use the Ask a Question area on your screen to type in your question. If you have any technical difficulties during the webinar, please click on the Help area located below the slide window, and you'll receive technical assistance. If you'd like to discuss this webinar on Twitter with fellow attendees, just include the hashtag TDWI in your tweets. And finally, if you'd like a copy of today's presentation, use the Click Here for a PDF line there on the left middle of your console. In addition, we are recording today's event and we'll be emailing you a link to an archived version so you can view the presentation again later if you choose, or if you'd like to share it with a colleague. Again, today we're going to be discussing data analytics on the cloud for healthcare, and our first speaker today is Fern Halper, Vice President and Senior Director of TDWI Research for Advanced Analytics. Fern is well known in the analytics community, having been published hundreds of times on data mining and information technology over the past 20 years. Fern is also a co-author of several dummies books on cloud computing and big data. She focuses on advanced analytics, including predictive analytics, machine learning, AI, cognitive computing, and big data analytics approaches. She has been a partner at industry analyst firm Hurwitz & Associates and a lead data analyst for Bell Labs. She's also taught at both Colgate University and Bentley University, and her PhD is from Texas A&M University. Please welcome Fern, and I'll hand it over to you now.
Great. Thanks, Andrew. Hi, everyone, and welcome to this webinar. Thanks for joining us today. We know you're busy, and we're glad you could take the time out to be with us. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to kick things off and talk about data and analytics and cloud trends in healthcare for 2023, and I'll also talk about some of the challenges we're seeing healthcare organizations facing. Then we'll move into our panel discussion with Impetus and Change Healthcare, and we'll talk about the notion of a unified healthcare data platform, what it looks like, what use cases it can support, and how to get started. So, I'm not sure that any of these will be a surprise to you, but I wanted to review some of the challenges that we're seeing the healthcare industry facing, and these are specifically challenges, that can involve data and analytics to help. So the first one I have is, the pandemic. Of course, there's the pandemic, which is still with us. In the U.S., for example, we also saw a surge, earlier late last year, with RSV, COVID, and the flu, all of that was sort of putting a strain on the healthcare system to deliver consistent quality of care. And I'm sure we've all also heard, a lot of use cases where data and analytics were used, with regards to COVID. There's also new healthcare delivery and value models. So these measures involve improving the way that healthcare is delivered, like either with telehealth or remote health, and monitored, as well as the quality of care, that patients are receiving. We're also hearing a lot more about value-based models in healthcare, which look to move the focus of healthcare delivery away from the traditional fee-for-service model towards a system that rewards value over volume, and improving patient outcomes and reducing costs. Providers that meet certain standards, are rewarded with higher reimbursement rates and greater financial incentives. Of course, there's also hospitals and other facilities are looking to streamline operations to reduce costs, because cost is a big concern in healthcare. They're looking to enhance patient experience and, also dealing with healthcare payer complexity, which adds costs to healthcare. So those are some of the challenges that we're seeing. And although there are challenges, of course, there are numerous opportunities for healthcare using data and analytics. And I'm listing some of these here on the slide as examples. So some of these have to do with how AI and machine learning are being used in healthcare. So, for example, building machine learning models to diagnose diseases. I have an example here. You can see it on the bottom, how an AI tool can detect signs of mental health decline in text messages. There's also work going on, to be able to forecast suicide attempts. AI is being used in drug discovery, where it can assist with predicting outcomes of clinical trials and potential side effects of new drugs. It's being used in the analysis of medical imagery, which involves using computer vision algorithms to spot early warning signs in X-rays or MRI scans. There's a long list of exciting prototypes that are out there. Another one is, even in the area of wearables, all of this is going to be continuing into 2023. There's also use cases that are about operations. I mentioned that operations can be a challenge. Some popular ones that we see at TDWI are things like preventing readmission to hospitals, forecasting no-shows, or managing hospital operations. A big one is like scheduling ORs or managing hospital beds. And there are also use cases around population health as well. And so what we're seeing at TDWI is that the healthcare industry is advancing in its use of data and analytics. So some of these are, these are just findings looking at healthcare organizations from our research. And, it's interesting because, say 5 years ago, we didn't hear a lot from healthcare organizations, but all of a sudden, there's sort of been this big boom in, what's happening in healthcare with data analytics. It's a real growth area. And what we're seeing, for example, is that in our surveys, we see that the majority of respondents from healthcare organizations state that demand for machine learning is increasing. This is true overall of the market. What we see is about 65% of respondents saying that demand for machine learning has increased slightly or significantly. So that was in a 2022 survey. The majority are also modernizing their environments to support modern analytics. So I'm talking about analytics beyond dashboards and reports to more self-service and machine learning and AI. Although many are still at the dashboard self-service stage, so this is what's happening in healthcare. I'd say that that's also true overall. We also see that sometimes organizations struggle to get to the next stage of analytics maturity. And as I mentioned, healthcare had been lagging, but now it seems to be coming on strong. But, there's going to have to be awareness of the skills issues in addition to infrastructure issues moving forward in healthcare too. Here we also have a bullet here that the majority believe that cloud data platforms are the future of data management, although most are using hybrid environments that include the cloud and on-premises platforms. So this is the case for healthcare. We've also seen this happening in other industries. So organizations want to move to the cloud to help manage diverse data types. And certainly in the slide I showed you before, there are plenty of diverse data types that people want to analyze in healthcare. But they're going to need to prioritize what moves to the cloud. We're also seeing in healthcare, which is interesting, that, many organizations, are using more than one cloud provider. So you may be on 2 cloud providers. That's particularly what we see at TDWI. And then again, I have, some of these analytics use cases that I mentioned before. Now, in our surveys, we often ask open-ended questions. And here we asked healthcare respondents, what would you like to see changed, in what's happening with data and analytics? And so here are some of the verbatim responses that may resonate with those of you in the audience. The first is to add new data sources, because that's going to help to enrich data for analytics. If you take the example of managing hospital beds, you may know which patient was in which bed, but you can't necessarily predict the number and time of expected discharges. So, if you can combine administrative data about bed usage with clinical data, about the patients, you may be able to do a better job of predicting that. The second one here, more CXO leadership understanding of advanced analytics, as well as, AI, natural language processing, machine learning, deep learning, and how to evaluate them and the infrastructure changes necessary to support them. So again, what we're seeing is that many people who work in healthcare want to move to a more advanced analytics, and they're looking, at different infrastructure to support that. Again, the next one, more machine learning implementations. So again, more machine learning implementations. And then comments about automation. So automation is being used, we see it being used across the data and analytics lifecycle to help with everything from classifying sensitive information to surfacing insights to building machine learning models to providing tools for data governance, including metadata management. And as the environments become more complex, automation will be needed. You can also see things like metadata reconciliation and understanding the data. Do we have subject matter experts or data lineage or metadata to really know what's there? And as well as, cooperative development with the front line. So all of this is saying that those in healthcare want to be able to perform more advanced analytics. They want the tools to support data understanding, access, and analytics, and they want to be able to work with the business. In this case, they're talking about frontline workers to get their input for this. So in terms of areas, when we ask about areas for improvement, and here we're asking about technical areas of improvement, this chart comes from a 2022 survey, and this is across all industries, but also holds true for healthcare. You could see that the top two areas for improvement are data governance and a better architecture. So organizations need to be thinking about how they want to architect their solutions to support analytics. And what we see at TDWI is that organizations overall are looking to collect more diverse data types, which we also saw was important for healthcare, thinking about images and text as well as structured data to solve, various types of medical issues. And, most organizations, as part of that, are looking to modernize their architecture. And as part of that, they're moving to the cloud. And we see the majority have cloud data warehouses. Already, about 40% have cloud data lakes, and this is also true for healthcare. Additionally, organizations are looking to unify their data in some way for analysis. So we've been seeing this trend towards a unified environment that provides an integrated set of tools that address many aspects of the data and analytics lifecycle, data management, development, and deployment of sophisticated analytics. This platform is often cloud-based to take advantage of the scale and flexibility of the cloud to support massive amounts of data and compute-intensive workloads like machine learning and NLP. It's automated and augmented. And this unified environment that we see organizations gravitating towards typically has a minimum set of features, including data warehouse services. There may be data lake there, but security services, data visualization services, but when we ask organizations about the other kinds of services that they want to see as part of this environment, they also include things like data catalogs, obviously cloud services, because many of these platforms are in the cloud, the unification is occurring there, and across hybrid environments. They want automated and augmented services. They want advanced analytics. They want the ability to support open source and commercial tools. So the vast majority of respondents to this recent survey that we did on unification, they said that unification was an opportunity. I think it was like 85% saw it as an opportunity. So healthcare organizations should also be looking into how to make this work. And there are different approaches, and one of them is a cloud stack. And I think we'll be talking more about that during our panel discussion. So what I want to do now is hand it back over to Andrew, who will introduce our panelists. So Andrew, back over to you.
Terrific. Thank you so much, Fern, for that great presentation. Before I get to our panelists, just a quick reminder to our audience that if you have a question, you can enter it at any time in the Ask a Question window. We will be answering audience questions in the final portion of our program. This does bring me to our next speaker, Subha Reddy Appala with Change Healthcare. Subha Reddy is a technology leader with close to 2 decades of experience in leading cross-geographical engineering teams and delivering a wide spectrum of products and services to healthcare customers. Obsessed with data, Subha is currently working as a senior engineering manager with Change Healthcare and leading teams responsible for creating multiple components of a healthcare data platform on the cloud. He firmly believes that data is the key to bringing much-needed and delayed change to U.S. healthcare, making healthcare affordable for everyone, streamlining the process to reduce the overheads, making the industry nimble with technology advancements, putting patients first, and providing value-based care. We're also joined by Shilpi Saxena with Impetus. Shilpi is responsible for managing multiple cross-functional complex projects at Impetus involving data platform modernization and cloud adoption. She leads a team of high-performing engineers to ensure an end-to-end project management for several Fortune 100 customers. Shilpi is an author and technology evangelist skilled in designing and implementing enterprise-grade data solutions. With 2 decades of experience, she has worked across multiple domains such as IoT, healthcare, telecom, travel, and aviation, fintech, manufacturing, and more. Please welcome Subha and Shilpi, and I'll hand it back over to you now, friend, for the panel discussion.
Great, thanks, and welcome to you both. I'm excited about this panel. I think we're going to have a good discussion about healthcare. So the first question I have, and Subha, I'll ask you this question first. What data and analytics trends and opportunities do you see in healthcare for 2023? I mentioned some. What do you see?
Thank you so much, Fern, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, and thanks for taking the time to join this webinar. So, Fern, I would say 2023 would be a pretty interesting one. As you touched upon, we are at the end of a 2-year pandemic. Hopefully, we are at the end of it, fag end of it, and it has really topsy-turvied our lives. I mean, it has really given us so many lessons, we have learned from the pandemic, and I'm pretty sure some of these would be translated as, the trends and opportunities in the upcoming years. So I would like to name few, right? So to start with, data interoperability. I mean, if you look at it, the healthcare system is not 100% there when it comes to the data interoperability. We have made like giant strides in the last few years, primarily due to the CMS regulations, the governance compliance requirements, where we gotta have the data interoperability initiative go on fast track mode. But we have seen many instances in the last few years where the caregivers, especially in the emergency setting, emergency hospitals, where time is of essence, they could not get the prior healthcare data of the members, which is really sad to see. So I would see, if we are going to get ready for, dealing with the new pandemics, data interoperability would be the key, and we gotta have the data flowing, seamlessly across the entities. And I would see this one would be a top trend in upcoming years. The next one is again a very valid lesson we learned from the COVID pandemic is, the telehealth and remote patient monitoring, which you have touched upon. Excuse me. So, I feel, human beings, we adopted the COVID-19 and we came up with the very innovative, ways of getting the care, whether it is just using the Zoom meetings or the Google Duo meetings, just to, get in touch with our PCPs and get the care needed. But I think we are looking at going beyond just the video conferencing, and we gotta have a comprehensive telehealth suites along with integrated with the remote patient monitoring. And the stats say that there is a significant rise of the wearable devices adoption in the whole world, and it is nothing but natural for us to integrate and have a remote patient monitoring where your caregivers can monitor the patient's vital information in near real time and start providing the guidance, and instead of waiting for the catastrophe to hit, right? The next one I would see is artificial intelligence. I mean, this has been touted as like the big thing in the healthcare, and for all good reasons. I think, Fern, you did touch upon a few of these, and I'm pretty, I mean, it was, I love to see many people are also echoing the same sentiment regarding the artificial intelligence, because it has capability and potential to improve the patient care with data-driven clinical decision making, or streamlining our healthcare system workflows, which were at the brink of breaking during the pandemic, whether it is assisting in the clinical trials, the drug discovery, the medical imagery, which you have talked about, Fern, where we can analyze an MRI image or a Xray and assist your physicians in providing precision medicine to our patients, right? The next thing, I'm obsessed with data, and the analytics, the data analytics would be the key. I firmly believe, in order for us to be ready for upcoming pandemics, predictive analytics and prospective analytics, we gotta focus on prevention. Focus on enhancing the patient care, the value-based care, and incorporating your social determinants of health, to reduce the disparities and provide accurate predictions. Again, the mantra is going to be, prevention is better than cure. And data is the one which takes us there. The next one, in my view, Fern, is a very interesting one. And I have been reading a lot of articles about and success stories about this, which is 3D printing. There are a lot of unicorn firms and even big firms are investing heavily in the 3D printing. And, be it is in the personalized prosthetics or assistive devices or implants to improve our patients' well-being, I feel the 3D printing would be a trend that is, going to stay for next few years. Last but not least, I would like to touch upon inflation. We all feel like inflation is, it's there and it is in the finance market, but you know what? Inflation is going to hit healthcare ecosystem also. It's just a matter of time. And I firmly feel this is actually going to impact the payers, and they will have to work very closely with their providers, whether it is technology advancements or it is process improvements or any innovation, to make this inflation in check and still provide the care to our members at an affordable rates. So I think these I see would be some of the top trends and opportunities as we embark into 2023 and beyond, Fern.
Yeah, those are really interesting trends. It's interesting on the AI side because we see, a lot of proof of concepts, but, it'll be interesting to see, and that things work, certain types of applications work. So it'll be interesting to see if in 2023, some of them actually, are put into production. Yeah, so that was
that's right.
A good set. Shilpi, how about you? What are your thoughts on trends and opportunities for healthcare in 2023?
Hi, thank you so much, Fern. Thank you, Subha. Subha pretty much covered a lot of things in that area, Fern. And I pretty much agree that these are all the dimensions that are going to be the key trends. Just one aspect to add there is, increasing patient outreach and giving fundamentally a customized experience. At the end of the day, it's a domain which is serving to patients. So a personalized and a contextualized patient care is another particular segment that we see kicking in, that I feel would be kicking in, that would create a lot of difference with respect to end user experience of these facilities. And that is again related to personalization, machine learning, data processing, massive data processing, and getting personalized insights about the patient's healthcare, mental well-being, family history, and then devising and proposing a prescriptive or a predictive solution to them, or basically a prescription to them. So that gives a very personalized connect between the physician and the patient, and that really makes a lot of difference in terms of how well they take the healthcare and how well the treatment goes through.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Are you seeing any organizations trying to start to do more personalized?
To some
medicine this way?
extent, interoperability still stays as a challenge. But within a particular healthcare facility, if I happen to visit different hospitals or different clinics of the same facility, due to a centralized data platform, they have that information accessible, available, and they don't ask those basic, battery test diagnostic questions when they deal with it. To some extent, it is making progress, but still a lot of headroom and leeway to move ahead. And as Subha said, interoperability is a really must thing, so that the same experience gets seamlessly echoed across different facilities, different states, countries. I'm flying to US, or somebody coming to another country. It is all together a different ecosystem you're dealing with in terms of data. So those boundaries needs to be diminished in a manner that we together offer a better and a seamless healthcare to the patients.
Yeah, that actually leads into this next question, which Shilpi, I'll start with you on this one too. On the flip side, what data and analytics and cloud challenges do you see your clients in healthcare facing? You talked about interoperability. What other challenges?
See, opportunities are massive, but at the same time, challenges are also enormous. We start with data. It's all about the term data analytics itself starts with data. And for any system to operate, I need to get the data from the sources to the system, to the platform. So in this world, it's typically a traditional industry. There are a wide variety of data sets. There are call records, there are images, there are reports, prescriptions which physicians write down. There are surgery video records. All this data acquisition, data onboarding, data standardization, cleansing, getting it to a level where I can actually apply some ML, some AI, or even basic rule-based processing to draw out insights out of it. That itself is a magnanimous task. So that becomes that's one of the core challenge with EHR record standardization, with various compliances and government setting in regulations as to how medical data needs to be maintained. A lot of this is being ironed out, but still not at a particular pace where we can, take an exponential leap into drawing analysis out of all this data. That's one part I'd like to touch upon. The second aspect is about the outreach. There are a lot of different roles involved in this ecosystem. So there's patient, there's physician, there are healthcare personnel, there's a pharmacy involved, there are insurance folks involved, there are diagnostics and lab imaging technicians involved. And right now, with advent of wearables and all these devices coming into thing, there are wide variety of different set of devices involved. So there's a lot of different kind of data that is coming in. And the problem is not that we don't have data. In fact, we are very soon reaching the stage of physician data paradox, which Subha also touched upon. So everything is documented, everything is captured, but in an ER unit, where somebody needs the data and insights and some nudges as to what KPI should I monitor or look at, getting to the right insight is a problem. So that's the other aspect. Now, cloud adoption is going to solve all these problems if it is adopted accurately. So governance rules, compliances, in fact, in your earlier slides, you also touched upon it, that data governance, metadata management, all these are very critical and crucial aspects. You've got everything. You've got captured all the data in the world. But how do you use it? What is the classification? How long a particular data set lives? When does the GDPR kicks in? So all these things, the strategy, the groundwork has to be done very, very accurately before taking a plunge into the cloud. And that is where the right strategy, right implementation, and right technology and architecture partner comes into play. So these challenges are massive as they sound, but they are solvable, and a lot of healthcare organizations and enterprises are actually successfully solving it and making great use of the data diagnostics.
Yeah, I like the way you stated that, because it's so true. There's so much opportunity with, especially in healthcare, when you think of all of the different kinds of data, that you have that you can make use of, but the pipelines, the metadata, all of that, that the whole platform needs to be sort of in place to really do that. Subha, do you have anything you want to add in terms of challenges?
I think I really like the word Shilpi has used, right? Like, we have more than enough data for us. I mean, the data is massive at scale, and getting this data and creating a meaningful data platform, again, the cloud adoption is going to really solve many of those challenges, some of those challenges. But again, having a meaningful data platform is going to be extremely important to start gathering some of these insights. Totally agreed with Shilpi.
Yeah, so that actually leads into this next question. I talked a little bit about unified platforms, and we've done a lot of research on that at TDWI. What's a unified healthcare data platform? And, what are some of the features that needs to have? And, should it be cloud-based? And Subha, I'm just going to ask you this question. So,
sure, Fern. Again, so maybe I'll take a step back, and we have been talking about data platform, and this is really not a new concept. If you look at it, it's been around for at least a couple of decades, right? But at a very high level, a unified data platform is something that connects your disparate data sources into a single source of truth, obviously very secured way, and thus enabling data democratization. This is extremely important. You got to start democratizing your data and start creating valuable insights, right? And healthcare data platform is no different. Here you're talking about your disparate data systems, whether it is you have systems processing your, say, eligibility data, 270, 271, or claims processing systems, 837s, or remittances, 835s, or, claim status inquiries, 276, 277s, acknowledgements. There is massive amounts of data that is sitting, like your CCDs, your clinical documents. You gotta bring all of these documents, all of this data together into a unified data platform and start unlocking the valuable insights. Again, whether it has to be on cloud, I mean, it is preferred because it has tons of advantages. You don't have to worry about your infrastructure. You don't have to worry about some of the compliance requirements that cloud by default provides you. You don't have to worry about your real estate, having massive data centers, maintaining your data centers, your patching, your security vulnerabilities. I can go on and on, why we really need to adopt cloud, right? But since the focus is on a unified data platform, I would like to, touch upon a few more things that I feel should have in a data platform and must-haves, and some of the best practices, right? So if you look at it, as I said, the data platforms has been around, but only few companies have actually mastered the art of creating and using the data platform. Many companies have created the data platforms, and I have seen numerous blogs where the data platforms went from a POC stage but never got into a production state and started giving value to the enterprises. Right? That is primarily because, there was no a true end-to-end architecture that has been created for these data platforms, which is, many people think data platforms as just like, your ingestion framework. That means you're just gathering the data from all these disparate sources. That's not about it. You're not creating a data swamp here. We want to create a pristine data lake and data warehouse and start unlocking the value. So this goes beyond your scalable data ingestion frameworks, your data models that you want to create, your canonical data models, various canonical data models. And we are in the healthcare space and dealing with very, very sensitive data. So data management got to be the paramount importance, whether it is your data governance, your data cataloging, data discovery, data quality checks at every point, data access policies, right? Like, your contractual obligations and who can access what data. That is extremely important. Then I call about this as ABC. Audit, balance, and control, right? At any given point of time, you gotta have a data lineage, right? From, this file, this transaction came from this, and it has been egressed out or given out. So you gotta have an end-to-end ABC. You gotta have, start having self-service capabilities. You gotta invite many of the teams start using your data platforms, and they should be able to come contribute to your data platform, create data pipelines, make use of your data, bring their own data, and marry this data together and start creating insights, right? So you got to have, this is not mandatory, but some visualizations and dashboarding so that you understand how the insights are flowing through, right? And when it comes to technology, being an engineer at heart, cloud and DevOps, adopt DevOps, automate everything. I think, Fern, in one of your slides, there was significant amount of people talking about automation. That is the key. We are gone with those days of big bang projects in the waterfall model and trying to deliver. This is the days of safe agile, safe agile, and unlocking the values on, to our customers. Be customer obsessive, understand your customer problem, and start creating these incremental values to your customers. And, the only way of creating this is start adopting DevOps culture, automate everything. So these to me are some of the must-haves, and best practices we need to follow in the data platform, Fern.
Yeah, that makes good sense, and it's consistent with what we're hearing across industries in terms of the features and what might be in the unified platform. Sophie, let me ask you this: it sounds like if you had a data platform and maybe it was in the cloud, it can help the healthcare industry accomplish a lot. Can you share more on that and what can be done that couldn't be done before?
Sure. Thank you so much, Fun. See, as Subha covered just now, that getting all the data into a pristine data lake, I really like that term pristine, so I'm using it again. So having it in a pristine data lake in a usable format really makes a lot of things possible. Now, whether we are mature as a domain, as an industry to tap on harness all that possibility or not, that's a different aspect. But the possibility is definitely there, and some people are even prototyping and going ahead and doing and kind of tapping into that potential. So think about it. It's a centralized, unified data platform. And right now, we think about having all the EHR, connected EHR data, all the patient data, all the diagnostics, all the medical history, even to some extent genetic family history, my habits, what are my my journal routine, what time I start, how much do I commute, what are my eating habits. Literally like having a digital persona with all the information about me out there. And this is available for diagnostic. Even before I walk in, when I book the appointment, the physician has all this information available with the right insights, like not bombarding the doctor with all this information, but with accurate and adequate insights and nudges about who am I, what could be the probable things, what could be the probable diagnosis, and getting those things right there available. Similarly, one of the things that you mentioned, readmission. people walking in to critical care, getting treated, walking out, coming back in 2 days, 3 days. How can we reduce that readmission? What are the symptoms that we can educate the patients while they are walking out and let them know if these are the things, and have a remote monitoring at home there to prevent readmissions so that adequate care can be taken rather than just rushing to ER care once more. Third thing is the cost of the treatment. I can really optimize the cost, both as a treatment cost for the patients, as well as the OpEx cost for the various institutes, hospitals, and all the other things. I can plan better. I have all the data, and I'm not even going to the space of machine learning and AI application. But if I have all the data in place, I know the seasonal changes, I know my day well, I can actually plan my entire supply chain, my floor planning, recruitment, everything accordingly. The third aspect is about how do I use this data stewardship, what is the archival mechanism that I put into place owing to the compliances and the government regulations. So all that automatically, and you got to implement it at a platform level. It automatically gets applied across the board. So if you have your data lake created well and a data lake house sitting on there, all the other things can be applied at a platform level. So standardization, unification, connected data sets, basically, and even things like patient identity matching, supply, and all the use cases. Like I can go on and on talking about plethora of use cases that can be unlocked just by virtue of unified data sets, integrated and connected data records, governed data exchanges between different systems, healthcare, insurance, supply chain, pharmacy, all these governed and seamless data exchanges is what I meant, even at a country level, at a country scale. So all this can be taken care of by virtue of accomplishing a pristine data platform, pristine data lake and a platform.
Yeah, interesting. Suba, how has Change Healthcare benefited from this?
Immensely. That's the short word for now, because I mean, before I go into details, right? So if you just look at the massive scale of Change Healthcare, where we have, we work with more than 1 million physicians. We process 15 billion transactions, and we touch 1 in 3 patient records. So we are looking at a massive scale of data, and it is just not, you're not just talking about one facet of the data, which is just the claims, remittances, etc. We are there in the end-to-end life cycle. So it is nothing but natural for us as an organization to start adopting cloud technologies, and we have done it like at least I can think of almost close to a decade where we started adopting the cloud, and we had massive success in terms of operating costs, in terms of delivering value to our customers much more frequently, much more in a faster way. So, and that's our cloud adoption. And if you look at our data platform, again, with the stats that I have given and with the amount of massive scale of data that we are sitting, it is again just a no-brainer for us not to start working on a data platform and start unlocking the value of this, right? So just to give some of the examples, and these are pretty much available in our Change Healthcare website also, right? So if you look at our DSaaS platform, which is Data Science as a Service, where we give a secured space for our customers to bring their own data and to get some of our de-identified data from our data platform, marry them together and start creating some trends. It could be drug discovery, it could be clinical trials, it could be whatnot, using the geographical information and the de-identified data. The possibilities are unlimited there. Whether it is our real-time settlement based on our data platform, we all know how tedious or how time-consuming the whole the claim life cycle is, and sometimes it could take providers months before they get the amount. So we are working on real-time settlements. You talk about RCM analytics, revenue cycle management analytics for our provider customers. Massive value-based care platforms. Like, as you said, we are moving from the fee-for-service model to the value-based care. Data platform absolutely helps in creating these bundles. The interoperability suite that we have created. And, I can go on and on, various products that we started building on top of the data platform. And one thing in particular, which is very close to my heart, and I was involved on this, is called as pre-care alerts, which is essentially nothing but, analytics on top of your eligibility data. And we all know eligibility data is one of the first healthcare transactions that a patient goes through in their journey. So we wanted to go ahead, and instead of waiting for the claims and try to understand the patient trends, can we start creating trends on top of the eligibility data? If we see that a patient has gone into emergency care twice in the last 1 month, there is a red flag. If a patient has been going through a urgent care clinic like multiple times throughout a month, I'm just giving example. So you can start creating these trends based on just the eligibility data and start connecting with your patient. That's where you are enhancing the whole patient care experience. You are connecting with your patients and you are guiding them, driving them for a better, maybe affordable most of the time, a care. And, instead of waiting for the catastrophe again to hit. So there are, definitely as an organization, we have tons of use cases and we have benefited from both the cloud adoption as well as creating these healthcare data platforms, Fern.
Yeah, those are some really good examples. And it seems like there have been breakthroughs and, really thinking about how to help the patients, et cetera. It's very interesting. Shilpi, I'll end with you because we also want to leave time for audience Q&A. There's a lot of questions coming in. Are there other business use cases that enterprises should be thinking about in terms of predictive analytics and machine learning?
Sure, I get your hint. I'll keep it short, and we'll have enough time for Q&A with our audience as well. But Subha covered a lot of critical cases, critical business use cases, patient-centric use cases that they are dealing and they're kind of working out for CHC. I'd like to add a couple of more to it, like risk score calculation, reduced readmission, which I already touched upon. One other typical use case which we've helped a lot of organizations solve is intelligent and adaptive appointment management system. So that's basically to deal with the two aspects of appointment management, which is no-shows, which you touched upon earlier, as well as working out on the wait time with real-time alerts so that people walk in only so that they don't have to spend a lot of time waiting for that term. So it deals and handles both those aspects. Preventive and predictive healthcare for chronic medicines and integrating it with the social system. Let's say I just to give an example, I move into a new suburb, and the moment I register, I get in there, the local healthcare facility, and I'm talking about a use case basically wherein the local healthcare facility has all the information, and they kind of have a personalized outreach to me, and they reach out, okay, this is what we know about you, and these are the local facilities available around you, feel free to reach out in case you need anything. So that kind of a personalized connect with the end patient really gives a very great exclusive end customer experience. And expedited claim is another area. Cybersecurity, vulnerability, threat detections is a little under. We haven't touched upon that a lot, but we are dealing with a lot of sensitive and PII data here. So security and vulnerability checks and predictive analytics on top of it to ensure that the data is safe. That's another critical aspect that all the organizations have to deal with and take care of it to abide the compliances.
Thank you. Yeah, those are some other good use cases. As I said, yeah, I see a lot of questions coming in from the audience. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it back over to Andrew. Thank you both very much. And we're going to move into the audience Q&A part of the program. So Andrew, over to you.
Thank you very much, Fern, and thank you all for that great conversation. We'll jump right into the audience questions here. Suba, this first one is for you, but of course, Shilpi and obviously Fern, if you both have something to add, please do so. So Suba, in your experience, does a healthcare data platform on cloud bring any cost advantage to the organization? And was this the case for Change Healthcare?
Absolutely, 200%, Andrew. Very great question, and the answer is a firm yes, right? So as I said, I touched upon, when you create any of your data platforms on the cloud, you are essentially removing your infrastructure cost. I mean, you are paying to your cloud provider, but you are removing that maintenance cost, the real estate, that you'll have to build and maintain your massive data centers, right? So obviously, you need people to manage those data centers and those infrastructures and the networks, etc. So you're deducting those. And, the other factor is the productivity, right? So your engineering teams will have that flexibility, and you can see that in the cloud adoption, you will be able to do your POCs much faster than how when you were doing it in on-prem systems. So if you look at all of these, absolutely there is massive cost optimizations and reductions when you are moving into cloud.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. We'll move on to the next question here. Shilpi, this will be for you. Can you, I know you just did a little bit of this, but can you give one more real-world example of any customers you've worked with that benefited from healthcare data platform?
Sure. I mean, rather, I would say I'll just take liberty to add few more areas rather than talking about specific example there. But we've done a lot of use cases for our customers in the space of insurance, interoperability, time management. You talk about clinical management, home healthcare with the mobile first kind of a development and applications, patient engagement management, and a complete patient 360 patient journey management through connected and integrated smart devices. So I mean, we've enabled a lot of use cases around these dimensions in healthcare segment.
Terrific. Thank you very much. We'll move on to the next question here. Suba, back to you here. Can analytics on cloud help provide enhanced patient experience overall?
Absolutely. With the data analytics, and we are actually involving the patients in the healthcare. So far, if you look at it, this is a little weird where once we undergo the treatment and the patient is typically out of the whole cycle. That means in other words, we visit the doctor only like when we fall sick, right? But with all of these giant strides that we are taking in terms of the data analytics and creating platforms, one of the things I talked about is the remote patient monitoring, where your providers can access your vitals real time and provide the feedback. So essentially, you are involving the patients in the whole journey, and you are being proactive. Absolutely. As a patient myself, I would love to get more, proactive measures taken by my, care providers. Instead of me going into hospital for every little thing, right? And we all talked about, the hospital readmissions and the value-based care. This is a massive thing. Like, you're really putting patient in the middle of the whole cycle, and the value-based care is being revolved around making patient happy. And we talked about predictions, right? Like risk of chronic diseases. With the predictive analytics and the data platforms, you can actually predict this, and essentially you can promote a healthy lifestyle, and you can involve the patient throughout this journey to make their experience better. So absolutely, yes, your data platforms will enhance the patient overall experience, Andrew.
Perfect. Great answer. We'll move on to the next question here. Shilpi, back to you. How do we process doctor prescriptions if written manually on paper and not in the system?
Sure. So there are a lot of image processing tools available. There are NLP and there's NLP capability which is available. There are libraries which can extract text from images and decipher and then capture them digitally. And in fact, there have been use cases where we have done that in a lot of places to have a electronic health record out of the physical prescriptive records that doctors create. So there are a lot of libraries available. There are a lot of tools available both on-prem as well as cloud, which can be deployed with integration and implementation through big data and data engineering components to extract the data from these systems. So these documents, basically. Sorry.
We had another question regarding how to process X-ray and scan data. Does that answer still apply to those two aspects as well, Shilpi?
It's almost close. I'll just add a little bit more to it. In the interest of time, I'm not elaborating, but yes, it's pretty close to it. So here, first part of the question was more around capturing text out of the written records of the handwritten records. But all these MRIs, X-ray scans, CT scans, we can use deep analytics and image processing to basically decipher, capture, and draw out intelligence from the data points across these images. And this is not a couple, I mean, sometimes these are very, very complex images, and it's about hundreds of data points that we are talking about. But the modern machine learning algorithms and image processing techniques let us draw that data out of it and apply analytics on top of it. So, by anything you'd like to add to that?
Absolutely, Shilpi, very correctly said, right? So we have text-to analytics, text extraction, and you can apply a mix of natural language processing and machine learning, because we did, have seen, if you look at your oncology, prescriptions or the data files, it could be very, very complex. And, with the mix of NLP plus machine learning, we can absolutely convert them. And, just a small correction. I have seen, at least like in the MRIs, etc., the data points could be hundreds of thousands. So we can, apply, again, same deep learning, machine learning techniques for the images to come up these data points and really, really help our physicians to provide a precision medicine to our patients, instead of just relying on your, the personnel who takes these X-rays or images, right? So your providers, your physicians also will have very deep insights and can provide the precision medicine.
Fantastic. Well, unfortunately, this does bring us to the end of our time today. So please let me thank our speakers. We did hear from Fern Halper with TDWI, Subha Reddy Apollo with Change Healthcare, and Shilpi Saxena with Impetus. I also would like to thank Impetus for sponsoring today's webinar. Also, please remember that we recorded today's webinar and we'll be emailing you a link to an archived version of the presentation, which you can feel free to share with colleagues. Also, don't forget, if you'd like a copy of today's presentation, you can usually click here for a PDF line. Finally, I'd like to remind you that TDWI offers a wealth of information, including the latest research reports and webinars about BI, data warehousing, and a host of related topics. So I encourage you to tap into that expertise at tdwi.org. Lastly, from all of us here, let me say thank you very much for attending. This does conclude today's event.